Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad day for metal because Candlemass is done in the studio. Yeah, they're still going to continue playing live and go on as a band, but they no longer want to make studio albums. Why? Rumor has it that people within the band are saying they don't want to keep growing older and make half-lame albums. I like it. I have respect for that. I have a respect for somebody that knows to kind of give it up whenever it's the best point and not want to just, be Kiss. Or many other bands like that. So, coverkillernation, let's talk about this album. Let's talk about Psalms of the Dead, the final studio offering supposedly by Candlemass. I say supposedly because things sometimes change. Sometimes bands say things and then they get inspired and then they want to go back into the studio and record these things down, and you can't hold that against them. It's something that they're very inclined to do. They have the freedom to do. So, let's talk about Psalms of the Dead, though. Psalms of the Dead is an album by this band that is not unlike a couple of their predecessors. It does also include Robert Lowe on vocals, which has been the norm for the past couple of years and the past couple of albums. Of course, Rob Lowe of Solitude Aeternis fame. And this album definitely has a feel, and I can kind of understand why this band maybe would want to stop. And the reason for that is because whenever you're speaking about Candlemass albums, whenever you're reviewing Candlemass albums, there's not much different, not much of a different thing to say about them each and every time, especially recently. Recently, Candlemass has proven themselves to be one of the true godfathers of the doom genre as we know it today. One of the bands that really took the inspiration of bands such as Black Sabbath and transformed it into a whole entire genre, as opposed to just kind of being a grand godfather or a super godfather, kind of like a Super Saiyan. But it's just one of those things that over the past couple of albums you can almost say the same things about each and every one of them. They have very solid songwriting. The melodies and everything are very well patterned. Rob Lowe's vocals are still superior in the studio. Rumor has it that his live performances have been less than stellar, which is another reason why they ousted him from the band. And overall, the concepts and the themes behind each and every one of the tracks have a real solid foundation. So, with that said, there's not really a lot to complain about. In fact, there's not much to complain about whatsoever. I feel that on a couple of these tracks that there is a little bit of a dialing in process, so to speak. Not that these are bad songs, just that it feels very similar to a lot of their past work, and that's really nothing wrong with that, mainly because their past work is very, very good. This is all stuff that they're able to not recycle, but at the same time it does have a hint of familiarity to it, which sometimes it's very comforting to have that little hint of familiar nature, but with this band, it's something where it's been a hint of familiar territory for decades. So I really enjoyed certain aspects of this release. For one, I've always been a massive Rob Lowe fan. Say what you will, say what you want, beg for whomever you want to take over the vocal duty, etc., etc. It's just a guilty pleasure of mine. Solitude Aeternis has always been one of my favorite bands in this genre, and his vocals have always been a real reason for that, because it just seemed to bleed over the music and create a real atmosphere of desolation, of desperation, of destitution, almost as though you are witnessing a man literally beg from the very throes of death. And I really enjoyed the way that he's able to reflect that power on Candlemass. I've enjoyed his presence on Candlemass over the past couple of years because it's given them the same depth that you expected with a vocalist like Messiah, who was, also someone sort of cut of the same mold, only done so in a little bit of a different fashion. So, it's nice to see and hear that that a great replacement was certainly opted for this role and has been now for the past 3 albums or so. And so that's something that I've always been kind of a closet fan of, regardless to the output. That said, the music itself that's layered behind this is also very well done. The riffs are very crushing, the bass is heavy, and the drums definitely have a lot of power. And like I said, the construction on this is not bad at all, and I'm not at all kind of downplaying this album. It's just the fact that it's Candlemass, and with Candlemass comes an expectation. And unlike a lot of other bands, with Candlemass, that expectation is usually met, and it's met by the same music that you're expected to hear. Now, the very last track on this album definitely has a strange little concept to it. There's a monologue with a ticking clock to begin it, and also sort of to lead you away. It's kind of one of the last things that you ever hear, or supposedly will ever hear from a Candlemass record. It's very, very interesting because it's almost like they themselves are saying that our time in the studio has run out, and this is the last of us writing new music. So it's almost a fitting way in order for it to end, but the representation on it is kind of interesting. You know, it's something where it feels a little bit out of place, but I kind of, I excuse it because I always have said the last track on the album, it gives the band the most opportunity to showcase something different, something unique, and really try something that's a little bit more outside of the box. It's almost like a tradition to me, you know, because last tracks on albums are usually some of the most interesting works that you're going to find. Overall, this album satisfies. This album is able to cleanse your palate for your need of Candlemass. You know, if you have been hungry for Candlemass and this was brought to you on a plate, you would leave filled and you would tip your waitress. It's something that, you know, like I said, I'm not trying to downplay this album, nor am I trying to call this band a walking simulacrum, or, you know, they're clichéing themselves or anything like that. No. This is just something where, as a reviewer, having reviewed Candlemass before and having done so even years ago using, you know, text and things like that, and you know, writing for websites, or just, you know, writing just for myself, it just is a lot of, you know, the same. And that's not a bad thing with Candlemass. Candlemass has a way of kind of hitting you at that right time, that whenever you throw on the album, you don't want to really turn it off. And what's nice about it is also the fact that you can do the same with a side project of Candlemass, which is Crux. And they definitely have that same feel to them. So those two brother bands, so to speak, I almost said Brother Bear, how embarrassing would that have been, really do kind of go hand in hand, and they both have that same ideal to it. So overall, I'm going to give this an 8. Definitely a great last effort. I enjoyed this album, and I think that fans of the genre, fans of Candlemass, will once again, like I said, their palate will be cleansed, they will tip their waitress, and if the chef were hot enough, they'd give the chef a, you know, good time. Fuck. Yeah. That's about all. I don't really have much else. No more clever metaphors. Candlemass, thank you very much for all of the studio memories. Look forward to seeing you guys out on the live trail. If you guys come to America, probably not, but if you do, cool. I'll come out and support you guys. Talk to you guys later. Bye.